Financial markets in Nigeria remain closed for the Christmas holidays. Nigeria's stocks rally in holiday shortened week on the back of continuous investor appetite. US and European stock markets rally in early trade over Brexit deal and stimulus bill signed by President Trump. It is countdown to the official takeoff of the African Continental Free Trade Area. How prepared is Nigeria? The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. Nigeria's economy will grow by 2.4% on average in 2021 and 2025, but will slow down to 2.2% in the 2026 period. This according to the Center for Economics and Business Research, a UK-based consultancy group, in its annual World Economic League table of the growth prospects of 193 countries released at the weekend. The group said the country may be in the same position in 2035. A steady rise has seen the country move from 38th position in 2005 to 27th position in 2019. However, the CEBR predicts that this rise will be projected in 2.4% from 2021 to 2025, predicted to decline by 0.2 percentage points from 2026 to 2035. Global gross domestic product is forecast to decline by 4.4% this year, in the biggest one-year fall since the Second World War. Nigeria's exports to the United States under a duty-free policy declined in the first 9 months of 2020, recording $351.73 million from January to September. According to the latest African Growth and Opportunity Act AGOA policy trade statistics, exports to the U.S. under the policy fell by 86.97% from $2.699 billion in the first 9 months of 2019 to $351.73 million in the corresponding period in 2020. The AGOA, a United States trade policy enacted in 2000, is a legislation that facilitates duty-free trade between exporters from sub-Saharan Africa and the United States. Annual trade data showed that the largest contribution towards AGOA-eligible trade commodities was usually oil exports, mainly from Angola and Nigeria, and to a lesser extent, Chad and the Republic of Congo. Imported vehicle prices are to rise in the coming days if the fuel grade and emission standards regulation of the ECOWAS is anything to go by. Industry players in Nigeria are, however, calling on the federal government to take another look at the policy before ratification, owing to the grave economic concerns the world is facing.
You see, in this policy, it is not about you not wanting. It is what we have on ground as a reality. Because the list assembled in Nigerian cars that you can see, that's the smallest, is 4.5 million. Now, how many Nigerians can afford 4.5 million for a car? And don't forget, anything vehicle has to do with transportation. Because like we had always said, vehicles has got nothing to do with luxury. It is a necessity. Because it is the movement, how to move persons, services and goods from one place to the other, and that is what is being termed as economy.
The regulation is due for implementation January 1st, 2021. And moving on, livestock business is making a huge comeback in the state, having suffered terrible setback occasioned by the lockdown. Kevin Samuel in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, reports that the central abattoir has been experiencing good patronage since the commencement of Yuletide, while managers of livestock are working hard to maintain standard for consumption.
The year 2020 has been a very difficult year for the survivor of most businesses due to the global lockdown occasioned by coronavirus pandemic. In Akwa Ibom State, for instance, the business of livestock was one of the mostly affected sectors, especially with the imposition of ban on livestock importation into the state by government as measures to curtail the further spread of the virus. A situation that caused great lack of livestock and hike in costs, which adversely affected consumers. However, with the ease of the lockdown, which led to gradual return to normalcy in the sector, dealers say business is good even though price is a bit higher, especially when compared to this time last year, but lower when compared to the costs during the period of the lockdown.
Well, the signature of the African Continental Free Trade Area AfCFTA agreement by 54 African Union member states provides an anchor for long-term reforms and integration. The AfCFTA creates the largest free trade area globally, measured by the participation of 1.3 billion people across its member states of the African Union, with a combined gross domestic product GDP valued at 3.4 trillion US dollars. The World Bank estimates that the AfCFTA will lift 30 million people out of extreme poverty and some 68 million people out of moderate poverty by 2030. Joining me is Francis Anatogu, Secretary to the National Action Committee on the AfCFTA and Senior Special Assistant to the President on Public Sector Matters. Together, we shall be looking at Nigeria's preparedness as we count down to the official takeoff of the AfCFTA. You are welcome to the program, Mr. Francis, if you can hear me.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me?
Thank you. You're welcome. Well, straight up, what is Nigeria's status of preparedness ahead of the commencement of the AfCFTA?
Okay. Thank you very much. I think I'll start by saying everything that we've been doing over the years, all our national economic policies have been geared towards this moment really because we have been trying to industrialize. We've adopted various approaches, including backward integration and all of that. And now we are moving on to the next stage, which is export-led economic development. So to that extent, we have Nigeria is ready. Not only that, bear in mind the size of Nigeria's economy, the number one economy in Africa, and beyond that as well, look at how much our businesses, some of our businesses are already doing business in Africa. That tells you that some of the sectors, the sectors that I'll call our arrowhead sectors, are already there in Africa. So to that extent, Nigeria is ready. That said, there are some sectors that will take more time to start seeing the gains of AF. Overall, bearing in mind that the objective of the AfCFTA, Nigeria is ready for it.
Okay. Talking about the next phase, which is exports, Nigeria cannot do it alone, Africa cannot do it alone. What is the implication of Brexit to this single market?
Okay, so Brexit is, with Brexit, the United Kingdom they're reaching out to other countries, other trade blocs across the world. So it also tells you, it underscores why we must take AfCFTA serious. It tells you that every country depends on trade to grow and prosper, and Africa is the same. And what it also means is that as Africa coming together under AFCFTA, that gives us a much stronger bargaining power when we are dealing with other countries, including the United Kingdom. But there are opportunities that will come out of it. But we now need to stay organized, keep focused, and then as we are implementing AFCFTA within Africa, keep focused on non-African countries.
Okay, Francis, talking about opportunities, talking about prosperity, of the projected 30 million persons to be lifted out of extreme poverty and some 68 million moderately poor to be lifted also out of poverty like in 2030 as has been projected. What are the numbers like for Nigeria?
So I don't have the exact numbers, but if you break it down, you will find that for us in Nigeria, where are we focusing? We are focusing on agriculture, which is the biggest employer of labor in Nigeria. We are focusing on manufacturing, but also we are focusing on services. Services constitute about 50% of Nigeria's GDP. So across all these sectors, the opportunities to lift people out of poverty is huge. Now, and talk about oil and gas as well. We've got the biggest refinery coming on stream in the next year. Alone, it's enormous, and this is just one of them. There are investments in other areas, and even in the services sector, in financial services, in digital technology, we already, in e-commerce, we are already creating jobs for our youth, and you will expect to see that multiply under AFCFTA.
Okay, Mr. Francis, can you let us into the level of possible interface with the relevant bodies, agencies for a smooth takeoff?
Okay, so if we look at the way we are organized at the National Action Committee, the committee is made up of the steering body, chaired by the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, and co-chaired by the Honorable Minister of Finance. Okay. One focused on the domestic front, and the other one focused on the external front. On the domestic front, you've got the NDAs, as well as private sector organizations, associations, as well as a number of companies are represented in this National Action Committee, and same for the external subcommittee. So we are already together. We have looked at the implications of the AFCFTA agreement. We have had and workshops to define the implementation requirements and our work plan to make AFCFTA work. So,
okay, Mr. Francis, being very practical now, where does the comparative advantage for Nigeria lies? What are the goods and services the country is taking into this continental market? Looking at competition, particularly from some other blocks that we have, particularly the francophone speaking countries.
Okay, so I think when we're looking at comparative advantage, it's important to look at it based on where we are today, but also important to look at it the areas where we deliberately need to do comparative advantage. Looking at where we have comparative advantages today, you have comparative advantage in financial services. You have it in across the value chain of digital technology, both hardware and software. You have it in our creative industries. You have it in $30 billion trade market in Africa. Even in agriculture and manufacturing, in food products and co, we already have our products are out there. What we need to do is to consolidate and the strides we've made so far. In other areas where we need to build comparative advantages because we want to. One of such area is the auto sector. The opportunities there are huge. We've already built a local component ecosystem. We already have investment in the auto sector. So that is another area we can take to Africa. In other areas of agriculture and manufacturing, we need to build comparative advantages. And then working with NEPC, for instance, is already pursuing a one state, one product program, which you will see specific states building comparative advantages or building capacity in specific products. And it is important to bear in mind that even in those areas where we are already exporting commodities like cocoa, sesame, and coal, we now deliberately need, and it's already happening,
which is to say Nigeria is ready, Africa is ready for this market. Thank you so very much. We have been speaking with Francis Anatogu, Secretary, National Action Committee. Thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority (NCAA) will, with effect from 28 December 2020, impose $3,500 fine on any airline that brings a passenger into Nigeria without the new COVID-19 compliance from United Kingdom and South Africa. This is just as the airline may be required to return non-Nigerian defaulting passengers to point of embarkation for non-compliance to Nigerian government rules concerning the United Kingdom and South Africa. The NCAA, in its letters AOL issued and signed by the Director General NCAA, Captain Musa Nuhu, also said repeated non-compliance by any airline will lead to a suspension of the airline's approval or permit to fly into the country. The notice, issued to all indigenous and foreign operators flying into Nigeria, states that passengers flying from the United Kingdom and South Africa must present a pre-departure permit to fly QR code generated from Nigeria International Travel Portal and a documentary evidence of a negative COVID-19 PCR test result done within 96 hours of boarding. Markets are green this morning due to fresh optimism from Brexit and US stimulus bill. Let's take a market trip. And continuous investor confidence has pushed Nigerian stocks to another impressive weekly high. Bosade Abel has that report.
It was a 4-day trading week as the federal government of Nigeria declared Friday 25th of December 2020 a public holiday in commemoration of the Christmas celebration. The NSE All-Share Index and market capitalization for week ended 24th December appreciated by 5.42% to close the week at 38,800.01 and 20.2 trillion naira. At a turnover of 2.7 billion shares worth 40.3 billion naira in 17,459 deals were traded by investors on the floor of the exchange. All other indices finished higher with the exception of NSE Banki, Afribank Value, Afidivio and Mary Growth, which depreciated, while the NSE ASM and NSE Growth indices closed flat. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 2.1 billion shares valued at 19.4 billion naira traded in 8,327 deals. It was followed by the consumer goods industry with 182 million shares worth 4.3 billion naira in 2,485 deals. The third place was industrial goods industry with a turnover of 145.8 million shares worth 10.6 billion naira in 2,587 deals. Trading in the top three equities were Access Bank, Zenith Bank and AXA Mansard Insurance. They jointly accounted for 1.4 billion shares worth 13.8 billion naira in 2,972 deals. A total of 645,669 units of exchange traded products (ETPs) valued at 2 billion naira were traded in 33 deals, as well as a total of 488 units of federal government bonds valued at 499,807 naira 41 kobo were traded in 11 deals. For summary of price changes, 35 equities appreciated in price during the week, 18 equities depreciated in price, while 108 equities remained unchanged. Boss Day Able, Business Express.
While financial markets in Nigeria remain closed for the holidays, global stocks are trading positive this morning after the Christmas holidays. Again, Bosede Abel has the report.
European markets rose at the start of the last trading week of 2020 as traders reacted to Brexit developments and President Donald Trump signing a $900 billion COVID-19 relief bill into law. France's CAC 40 rose 0.5% and Germany's DAX index was up 1.3% in Monday's early trading, while the UK's FTSE 100 index was closed on Monday for the Christmas holidays. Shares on Chinese tech giant Alibaba in Hong Kong were in the spotlight again on Monday after Chinese regulators ordered Alibaba affiliate Ant Group to rectify its businesses. In the United States, stock futures rose in early Monday trading ahead of the final trading week of 2020 and as President Donald Trump unexpectedly signed an economic relief bill. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average implied an opening gain of nearly 200 points. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures also traded in solidly positive territory. While in Africa, most stocks are closed for the Christmas holidays. Boss Day Able, Business Express.
This is where we end this edition of Business Express. Remember to keep in touch with us by sending in your comments, observations and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on NTA's channels. You can also communicate with us on Twitter and the handle is NTA News Now. The hashtag is BizX. Business Express returns Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. Be safe out there.